Long time no see. How is the quarantine going for you? I wanted to make this video to basically show that I'm not dead. During the last year or so, I have been very busy with my new work and some other projects. I've been in this situation many times during the past year, where I'm almost releasing a new video, but end up not doing it. This video is not my comeback, at least not yet. I've done some serious thinking on where I'd like to see this channel going in the future, but I'm still undecided. As some of you probably know already, my channel is a bit of a mess. Sure, it's a video game channel, that much is clear, but I can never make my mind about what style of videos I would like to focus on, so I haven't been releasing anything at all. The fact of the matter is, I've been really waiting for some Elden Ring news.
Oh, Elden Ring.
And if Elden Ring subreddit is anything to go by, so has everyone else. I do have multiple scripts just sitting there waiting for me to record the footage and edit the videos together. Maybe one day I will actually do it, but that day is not today. What I'm going to do today, however, is this little video about the games that I have been playing during my time of silence. Because I have been playing games. Quite a bit of them actually. One of the reasons for this is the Xbox Game Pass that I cannot recommend enough. This is not a paid ad, by the way, I'm just really happy I gave it a chance. And the great majority of these games on this video I played precisely because I had the access to them for free, thanks to Xbox Game Pass. By the way, the name is a bit misleading. Xbox Game Pass doesn't require you to have an Xbox. You can play the majority of these games on PC as well, like I did. I recommend you check it out, that's all. I'm not going to do any long form reviews here, just really fast descriptions of these games and my opinions on them. Something that has changed in the way that I play games these days is that I play a lot of games, but in short sessions. So I might play some game just a couple of hours and then move on to another one and then return to the first one after a couple of weeks or so. So many of these games I actually haven't had the time to completely finish yet. So don't take my opinions on them as any sort of reviews really. Consider them more like fast first impressions. Blazing Chrome. Really solid Contra style game that stays very loyal to its ancestors, while adding a couple of nice quality of life improvements and mechanics. It is very short, yes, but really fun time while it lasts. Contra fans will have a blast with it, and those not familiar with Contra games have an excellent game here for getting their feet wet with the genre. Blasphemous. Metroidvania style game with excellent pixel art. The game is so consistently dark, hopeless and depressing that it challenges even Dark Souls in its gloominess. Blasphemous doesn't really do anything out of the ordinary for the genre, and it doesn't attempt to reinvent the wheel, so to speak. So the things you would usually expect from a modern Metroidvania game are all here. But fans of the genre will have a lot to enjoy in Blasphemous. I for one nearly 100%ed the game on my first run, so it definitely held my interest well. It will have a free DLC out soon, so that will be a perfect time to pick it up if you already haven't. Noita. I did a first impressions video for Noita already, but I keep coming back to it since there's new content and fixes being added to this wonderful roguelike game constantly. This is probably the game I've been playing the most during my time of absence. There's something very addictive about its uncompromising hardcore nature that makes me keep coming back time and time again to get my ass blasted by it. Bad North. A game where you defend randomly generated islands from murderous Vikings. Really fun little game with some roguelike elements where your typical real-time strategy game is stripped down to its very basics, in a way that's very fun time for a couple of gaming sessions at least. This might work as a great introduction for those who have curiosity towards strategy games but haven't really tried one out yet, before jumping into some more complex titles. On its own it might be a bit too bare bones for some players, but I had a ton of fun with it. Disco Elysium. Disco Elysium is an isometric style detective game. Great RPG elements with actual visual dice rolls and all kinds of skill checks, coupled with great writing that has a ton of really dark humor. I just had to pick this up after seeing some people praising it everywhere, and while I haven't had that much time to spend with it yet, it seems like it's worth every praise so far. Can't wait to play more. Scorchbringer. I spent a couple of hours with the early test version of this action title. High speed, high mobility, fast action, really simple and fun game to start and instantly go ham with. I like how the rock music kicks in every time the action starts and you end up dashing through the air, wiping out an entire room of enemies in a matter of seconds. Guilty Gear Strive. I had the opportunity to play the beta version of the new Guilty Gear game and oh boy was it weird. The game is just so different compared to the last iteration, Guilty Gear Xrd Revelator, that during my short time with the beta I couldn't really get a full grasp on the new mechanics yet. The game was also very clearly unfinished on some visual aspects. Two things are certain at this point. It's going to be a beautiful but very different Guilty Gear experience. Carrion. In the early test version of Carrion, I got to play as a man-eating sentient minced meat monster that escapes captivity and proceeds to rampage through some sort of facility where it was held captive, eating and massacring everything in its path. Really fun physics stuff in this game that brings the creature to life. Hard to say too much about it yet though. I had fun with it. It does look beautiful in its own grotesque way, but man, the game is relentless in its speed, which was at first almost a bit overwhelming. This feeling might go away after playing some more though. Outer Worlds. Initially when I started playing Outer Worlds, the game really surprised me in a positive way. Before the release I had some gripes about its art direction and setting. Long story short, I wasn't too excited for another space game, since we've had a bit of an influx of those recently. The trailer also had a bit too goofy tone for my liking. However, I knew I would give the game a chance despite my skepticism towards it, mainly because Tim Kaine and Leonard Boyarsky are behind it, so at least I knew to expect great writing and quests. I must say that the trailers of this game don't do it justice. The over-the-top wacky and goofy feeling I got from the trailer was turned down a lot in the actual game. Sure, there's still a lot of humor, but it didn't annoy me like it did in the trailer. I still have some slight issues with the visuals, mainly some stuff with the oversaturated colors and the unremarkable landscape in the areas surrounding the cities, but overall the art style also clicked with me a lot better when I was actually playing the game. There's a lot of the same atmosphere here that you get from playing Fallout. It's a good thing. Great writing is there as expected, but during my last couple of sessions I've spent with the game, it started to dip a bit on the mediocre side. I'm not gonna comment on that too much yet, since I have some playing left to do, but overall my feelings about Outer Worlds are positive at the moment. World of Horror. Junji Ito, the game. That description should be enough to pique your interest if you're familiar with the horror artist Junji Ito. In World of Horror, you investigate strange and terrifying events of a small town taken over by all kinds of Lovecraftian horrors. All the investigations work almost like pulling randomized cards from a deck dedicated for each investigation that will determine the events that you run across. At first the game was somewhat confusing to me, since I very rarely play point-and-click visual novel style games like this, but after a short while the mechanics of the game started to take shape. There is also combat in the mix here, where you choose different actions each turn and see how they work out based on your stats. There's a lot more here that meets the eye, and it's not really just a visual novel, but almost like a combination of Pokemon-style JRPG combat and randomized events, with slight problem solving in the mix there. And of course, as you can see, the art style here is terrific. Bloodstained, Ritual of the Night. The long-awaited Kickstarter Igavania to end all Castlevanias. Not much to say about this one, it's a really high-quality Castlevania game. Haven't finished this one because I played it with a friend who lost his saves and we haven't started it again yet. But overall I enjoyed it, even though constant dialogue dumps were a bit too present for an action game like this, at least in the starting hours. Indivisible. This was a game that I waited to come out for a long ass time. Gameplay here is a mixture of casual platforming and JRPG style combat that has a mixture of fighting game style mechanics as well. And as a gameplay experience, I've had a blast with it. Not something that I can say about the story elements sadly. Characters seem a bit too much like archetypes I've seen a million times before, and especially in the beginning the story takes such sudden tonal shifts that I just couldn't take anything about it seriously. The hand-drawn art here is spectacular, as you would expect from Lab Zero that was also behind Skullgirls, aside from maybe the backgrounds lacking a bit of detail at times. And overall, the game is a very high quality package that will no doubt generate its own loyal fanbase. It's just that kind of a game. I've heard some whispers around the internet that the game would lose its touch a bit when it goes on, but at least my first 7-ish hours with the game have been really good time. Risk of Rain 2. Risk of Rain, but in 3D. How did the devs make it work so well is beyond me. But Risk of Rain 2 is everything Risk of Rain was and better. I've had a ton of fun playing this with a couple of friends lately, and the game's pressuring loot chaos against time while the difficulty constantly rises is maybe a bit too addictive once you get into it. There really is no limits on how much shit there can be flying on the screen at once, and it's glorious. I highly recommend this one. So, those were just a couple of games I've been playing during my time of absence. I hope to see you again soon. Also, sorry about my broken English, I haven't been doing this in a long while. Take care.